Welcome back to War Thunder. Welcome aboard the Charioteer Mark 7 in the first battle and also the Caernarvon in the second one. And both gameplays will show the power of APDS, and it's not just all about the APDS on this match that I show you. It's a bit about broken map design. This Port Novarisk map overall is really nice, but this version with the sea cap in particular is really annoying. Most of the time when I play my Germans, I spawn here. And there is always a Russian potato truck going for C, and you have no chance whatsoever to intercept it with a German tank, even with the RE251, just because you are most of the time not fast enough, because you have to go this really long way to go there. Now I expect something to come around this corner, so I pre-aim and I spot, you know, a very unique Russian vehicle. I just track him. I actually wanted to hit the Emmerich, but my aim is potato, and he decides to shoot at me. My shot goes over and he burns down. So, and now I think to myself, I wasted precious seconds, but you know, I couldn't give this triple aim a sight, even with the so-called nerfed belt. It's still very capable of killing me. And then I drift around the corner as much as you can drift in realistic, and I'm safe. And this is a very unique position because the enemy has two kill zones, or they have one kill zone at C. But C itself, they really cannot shoot into there, except if you're in the open like this Hellcat. So I will not survive this battle, and we will actually lose this match. And it might have been my fault, to be honest, as you will see later on. So let's talk about this map design. As you can see in the bottom right corner, there is the minimap. You know, it's a unique map design, it's something new, but overall the sea cap destroys it all. Without the sea cap, this map is a sniper map. It's a really strange map. I have an idea for a very specific vehicle to show extreme bias, and I'm not talking about a Russian vehicle or an American or hell, a British vehicle. Not many nations left, right? Yeah. I predicted that something is coming around that corner, and I just wanted to hide. I wanted them to come at me and my team sniping them, but my team doesn't have very good sniping positions, and they are not patient enough to let the enemy do the mistake. Also, I feel like it's difficult to get into CAS. Imagine at those two spawn, or at those two sniping points, an 82 Skyraider dropping its payload. You saw me doing it in a video called Nuclear Strike. Very fun indeed. Let's just talk about CAS in a moment. Today, as I'm recording this video, Gaijin announced, yes, the rockets are based on old game mechanics. Oh, really? I never have thought that. And they will hopefully adjust it sooner than later, in the sense that they give the rockets TNT equivalent. A lot of the stat cards do not really show that, and then we can calculate the penetration based on tank shells. And then suddenly something like the Mouse, the 100, the IS-4, the IS-3, and a lot of tanks with strong turret armor overall, also on the top, and especially the King Tiger, the Yak Tiger, and so on. They now will have, you know, made their armor great again, at least against CAS. Sadly, it was also said that the APCR for the Mouse is not coming. Now I have to ask myself here, the APCR, was it APDS? Now, one of my friends said APCR and APDS is the same word in Russia, so that's a bad thing. I do not understand why, but you know, I'm just playing the game, I'm not working here, sadly. And you can see I really hold this position quite well, up until the point that I get greedy. Yeah, you will see later on. I also spaded the tortoise. I went through a lot of the tier 4 grinding, a few planes and the Shermans. What I really think is pretty frightening with the British, or with a lot of the British tanks at rank 4, the Centurion Mark III, the FE 4202, and also the Caernarvon, they have a stabilizer with an APDS firing 20 pounder. That is a completely lethal, very, very good combination. And the mentioned tanks, except the FE 4202, have also reverse gear. Yeah, and you know, that's not all with those tanks. It's also that the Charioteer at 6.3 has the 20 pounder, as you can see. And we also have the Doombarn, the FE 4005. Yeah. And so the British have now a very strong lineup. And the one thing that I have to say is, that's awesome. But, you know, add to that all the planes with their RP3 rockets, which are currently overperforming, as I said, as I complained about, as I so-called whined about, you know, then you have a team that has to really screw up to lose. Now it depends on the map, the very specific situations, but on average, yeah. And I expected this T-34-85 still to drive, so that's the reason why I was killed. Now, when the RP3s gets nerfed, that doesn't mean that now Britain will lose all over again, except if they rely too much on CAS. Yeah. Also, one negative side about CAS is that when you are in a plane, many people will also join or go into a AAA on the enemy team, but then there are most of the time very easy food for tanks, and then you have not enough tanks on the enemy team to fight your team, so you know, it's a devil's circle, as we say in Germany. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's just the shitstorm that happens right now within War Thunder. And nerfing the rockets to overall historical performance, as I have hastened to add, is a first really good step into the right direction. Now, again, a power play, a real, you know, strangling of the enemy team in the Caernarvon against the Russians here, again on Abandoned Factory. And you can see the only cap circle A is in the south, and I go more or less through the middle, and then I spot the T-34 and I kill that 6.7 tank. You see them very rarely these days, I wonder how. Still, it's a very good tank thanks to the cannon, in my opinion. It still has insane mobility for a tank with that kind of gun, but that's just my opinion. It has been a tank that's not very often played these days, because 6.7 is also for the Russians more or less dead. But then they have very powerful 7.0, for example. The German ones, not so much. So I tried to shoot this guy, and then I spot on the railway embankment a T-44, and I third-person aim, go into the first-person aim, and kill his engine, and he burns. And where the smoke goes up tells me exactly where it is. I reload, and I also shot trap him with APDS. Oh, that is insult to injury, really. It was poorly aimed, but then again, you know, I didn't have the right altitude, so to speak. This T-44-122 had no idea was there, and now I'm in a very critical situation. I am now between the enemy's reinforcements, of which I don't know if they're coming or not, or whether or what they are, and I'm showing them my back, but I also, you know, I'm attacking the back of the enemy front line right now. And hello, dead. Another T-44-122. It's very good that they are located all in the turret, or 3 of them. I went for the gun breach on the IS-3, and now I am for the T-44 again. Very nice, very easy. And the IS-3 gets killed by the FE 4000 to FE 4202. Too many numbers for me, I'm sorry. And now we're capping the cap circle, and I killed a few tanks so far. So far, so good. Now the rest of my team has to come in. I have cast support, not so effective up until this point. I see a lot of red flashes around me, literally around me, and I have to be very careful to not expose any weak point to any enemy at all. So I do this really strange thing, reversing out of this, and I did not see where the shot was coming from. I looked the other direction. I didn't quite see the hit indicator at time. Yeah, and now it should have been clear, but I have no idea where that shot is coming from. And then the PT-76B got killed by the Griffin Spitfire. Thank you very much. I thought I would never say this to a Spitfire. So, yeah. And I'm reversing still into cover. I don't know for sure if the threat is over, so better safe than sorry. And now the capture zone is captured, and I try to have a piece of that juicy XP and silver line cake as well. Going in there and just driving through them while it caps. So yeah, I did not even get half of it. But at this point in time, we actually have won. Look at where the rest of the team is. We have one tank in the middle, and the rest of the team is approaching directly towards the enemy's spawn zone, the spawn point. Oh wait, there is another one. Thank you very much. So, 6 kills. I think that's enough for today. At this point, if there is no enemy tank on the map or visible for you, and such a strong force, like in this example, is approaching towards the cap zone, is it really spawn camping? No, it's spawn pushing. Whatever. You have nothing else to do. Of course you encircle the only possible place or area where enemy tanks could appear. Now, please remember that those tanks have spawn protection. You know, just position yourself in a way that they have to drive in order to shoot at you, because that reduces the time of spawn protection drastically. And the last enemy player is in a MiG-9, and yeah, I was really a bit salty that, again, for killing so many tanks and capturing 2 times a cap zone, I didn't have enough. I didn't have more score points than a guy that killed 3 enemy tanks. And I guess I'm not quite sure how many of them he did with him being in a Spitfire, because again, if you go for first place, just play an aircraft. You get insane amount of score points compared to tanks, and to a certain degree, I'm not quite sure about the ratio. It also reflects itself in the money, the silver lines that is, and also the RP. By the way, I agree to those who say that certain planes have a place in ground RB for them to get spaded. However, if those planes are, for example, fighters, and you just shoot at your enemies with machine guns, and you know it's a high tier, and a lot of the people are not using potato trucks as troll, rush, cap, circle winning vehicles, then you have a problem. Because most of the vehicles are not open topped. I'm talking here about, you know, regular 50 cals or 20mm cannons. Yes, I know, theoretically you can penetrate your enemy still, but you get the drill. And this guy actually respawned. Now, why did he respawn? I don't know. And he bailed out in his eyes too. He didn't even kill anybody. That's strange. So why would you even respawn? Well, the battle actually lasted just what feels like a few minutes. In fact, it was around about 9 minutes that the entire battle lasted, and it was decided after the first 4 minutes. And there I get the Survivor Award. or it was around about 8 minutes that the battle took. And yeah, that's the British for you. So that's what I'm doing currently. I still desperately try to respade a lot of my vehicles before the new patch drops. Remember, some of the tier 5 vehicles will receive an upgrade to tier 6. So if you're a top tier, you know, try to spade them, because I'm not quite sure if the module costs don't increase. I'm not sure about that. So that's it for me today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Please give this video a like if you did. Subscribe if you want to see more. And we'll see each other in the skies and on the battlefields of War Thunder.